Chris Martinez joins us now from Calabasas, California. Hi, Chris. If you could walk us through some of the damage you've seen from these fires.
Hi, Tanya. Yeah, the damage that we're seeing is very typical to what you have here behind me. This is a house here that the fire got a hold of and completely burned out the inside. Now, the walls of this house, they're still standing. Some houses that we've seen are down to the ground. There's nothing left. This one, the insides are gutted out by the fire. You have some of the walls still here, but you can see all the way through back there, perhaps to the hillsides that were burned out by this fire. Now, what's interesting down here is that the damage to the homes is a little sporadic. We don't necessarily have entire neighborhoods that are wiped out, but you do have neighborhoods like this one where we are in Calabasas, where you have maybe a half a dozen to a dozen homes that are burned, and then you have other homes that were completely unaffected by this. It just depends on where you go, and this is a very wide area here for the Woolsey fire that we're talking about. It's burning over 2 counties, Los Angeles County and Ventura County. Officials now saying at least 370 homes were either damaged or destroyed by this fire. That's an estimate, though. Right. They don't have any hard numbers because they haven't really been able to get in some areas. So we expect, Tanya, over the next couple of days, we're going to see some numbers changing as they get into some of those neighborhoods, and no doubt that number is going to go much higher.
Well, it looks just devastating. Chris, what are firefighters most concerned with right now?
Well, that's the wind, no doubt, the wind. The wind is starting to pick up. In fact, we've been feeling it over the past maybe hour or two. These Santa Ana winds, which come to town here every year about this time of year, that's the big problem, because the winds push these flames further and faster out than firefighters are able to keep up with them. So at this point, this fire here, the Woolsey fire, is about 20% contained. That's good. But the problem is that the winds pick up a lot today and beyond today. It could push the fire into new areas or even towards areas that have already burned, towards structures and areas that have already burned. So firefighters are really paying attention to the winds. They're trying to be in place strategically as best they can so that if the fire starts getting in other areas, they can get there in time so that they can perhaps save more lives and property. But they're saying right now, perhaps by the end of this week, next weekend, they'll have this fire fully contained. That's all going to depend on what happens with the weather and the winds here over the next few days.
Boy, the winds are really dictating the whole thing, it seems. Now, Chris, we know that dozens and dozens of people remain unaccounted for at this point. How challenging has the search and rescue process been as these firefighters are simply having to focus on the fire itself?
Yeah, it's been really difficult, in particular in Northern California. That's where you're seeing the reports of all of those missing people, at least 200 missing people still there. Part of it is they're hoping that these are people who either don't have cell service or have been at various shelters and just haven't connected yet with loved ones. So the hope is they will perhaps find the majority, if not all of those people, alive and well somewhere outside of the area where you would normally find them. But it's a tough process. And it's particularly tough because all of the attention right now is on fighting the fire. The other difficulty that they're having is in identifying some of the victims of this fire. They have found people in Northern California, victims in cars, victims in homes, where they were so badly burned, there's frankly not a lot to go on. There's not much left. So they're having to use bone or bone fragment to try to identify who these people are. That's a long process as well. And we suspect that as we go on here, as the search efforts and search and rescue efforts continue, both in Northern and Southern California, the potential is there that they will, of course, find more victims. As they get the containment numbers higher on these fires, which is starting to happen, they can devote more time and more of their resources to doing that. So this is a long process all the way around, from fighting the fire to assessing the damage to recovering any victims. It's going to be days, I would say, before we start having any real firm numbers and any real actual idea of how much damage has occurred here in this state.
And it's already been devastating. Chris Martinez in Calabasas, California, thank you.